Hey, I am really sleepy and tired, and I want to crawl back in bed, but I'm making myself stay up, and I don't drink anything with caffeine because it makes me anxious but doesn't help anything else. Uh, I do take multivitamins, iron, calcium, D3, B12, but sometimes it's just feeling like crap and doing what you can anyway. One of the cutest, funniest books I listen to over and over again is one called My Grandmother Says to Tell You She's Sorry. And I love it in the audiobook. And the little girl who is the main character in it is so headstrong and stubborn, and her grandmother has raised her even though her mother is right across the hall in the building, and it makes you wonder why. And her grandmother is what we call in Texas a ringtail tutor, which means stubborn and funny and eccentric, and that book helps. And another one that's soothing with the audio rhythm of his rich voice, which is wonderfully seductive and so creepy, is Neil Gaiman's Fragile Things. I've also listened to Neverwhere and Underworld and The Graveyard Book, and even though they have dark subjects, it doesn't depress me. It's very soothing. And this is a hard topic I want to talk about, especially for people who have bipolar. And that's audio hallucinations. Last night I was laying in bed and I kept hearing these chimes like my clock, but my clock only rings on the hour, and it was different tones than my clock. And it didn't sound like my wind chimes because it kept repeating the same notes over and over. And that either tells me that I'm descending, or that when I'm trying to pull out of stuff, it's saying, this is going to be hard. And so it doesn't scare me anymore. It's like a signal to pay attention. Um, some people hear voices. Um, I do when I'm coming out of sleep, but it's not telling me to do anything. It tells me stories. And sometimes the stories are very funny, and sometimes they're downright creepy, which makes me wonder what the neighbors of Stephen King think of him. And sometimes they're sad, but they're good stories. And so I write them down on cards and I keep them in a file box. And one of them I've been thinking about lately, besides the Western short story I am writing. And so I've decided to pull that out of the card box and work on it. I've got to admit, I may read a lot, but my grammar, punctuation, spelling, they all suck. And I read books on it like other people read their devotionals, and whew, I think my writing's improving, but oh my gosh, it's such a slow process. And I'm going to make an admission here. I flunked through my English classes all the way from high school through college. And on the papers, I'd always have to ask for an extension because I just couldn't. I mean, my brain just scatters when I'm proofreading. But on the short pieces, like the flash fiction and the short stories, uh, my sorry it's shaking so much. My counselor and I talked about hiring somebody that proofreads or does typescripts for physicians, and finding out what it costs per page. For instance, the real short stories or short essays that are only 1 page, maybe I could afford that. The other thing we've been talking about is coming out of a depression, as you can imagine. I've let things go. So maybe just hiring somebody once a week to come in and do the bathrooms and, vacuum out the dog hair and mop the floor. And maybe that'll give me a boost to start back into getting on track, because usually having somebody there starts helping me. So there are solutions. And there's getting honest with what you can do and what you can't do, getting help where you can and what you can afford. The small ways to keep pushing yourself, and the ever present desire to beat yourself up and resisting it. Resisting shame. Resisting shame. Okay, guys, those of you who suffer with bipolar or depression, you know what I mean by the shame thing. But don't believe your thinking, because your illness can really give you shit. It can beat you up verbally. It's like verbal abuse from another person. And you've got to resist and do anything you can not to believe your thinking, even telling it, excuse me, you can sit in this room or over there and you can bitch and bitch and bitch, but I'm going to listen to this book, or I'm going to read this one sentence, or I'm going to go get in the shower. Just talk, talk, talk. I'm not listening. Doesn't always work, but when it does, that's just one extra thing that you can add to your list of things you got done that day. And I don't make to-do lists when I'm like this. I make lists of things I did get done. And everything counts. Listening to Alexa joke counts. Watch this. Alexa, tell me a joke.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Figs. Figs who? Figs the doorbell. It's broken.
Stupid, but makes me smile. So, yeah, look at this. Look at this. So, anyway, love you guys. I'm still here. You stay too. Crawl your way up those steps and let's make progress. All right, bye.